Are you ready to boost your confidence when selling so you're able to close more deals? Nikki Rausch will show you how to build a foundation of skills and a mindset that creates sales success without feeling pushy or salesy and without fear of rejection. She is a sales strategist and coach with more than 25 years of sales experience and is master certified in neuro-linguistic programming. This is a radically different approach to selling. It's a no sleaze, no slime, and no stress approach to building your business. This is Sales Maven. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch, your own personal sales maven, here to offer you tips, techniques, and strategies to master the sales conversation. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about closing sales. Who doesn't want to close more sales? I hope you do. Otherwise, why are you here, right? Why am I here? Okay, let's talk about closing sales and the importance of doing it. So, a couple things before we actually dig into the strategy behind closing sales. I want to give you a little bit about my background, who I am, and how I show up in these sales conversations, and why what I do and teach works and makes it easy for you to show up in your sales conversation and experience success. So my background is I have 25 years of sales experience. I sold primarily in the technology space and closed big deals, worked for large organizations and companies. I was a road warrior, the traveling sales rep for many years, and had a lot of success there. I was actually the top producer in North America for one of the companies I worked for many years. And one of the things that I found to be my success in a sales opportunity was my ability to build strong relationships and to master the sales conversation. This is what allowed for my personality to shine through and work. And I am an introvert, by the way. I can be quite shy in many situations. I'm not the traditional, like I think how most people picture a salesperson. And I think that really does work for me and now works as I teach my clients. I'm never going to try to teach you how to sell like me. I'm always going to give you suggestions, tips, strategies, techniques that you can incorporate into your own sales conversations and find your own success using your own style. Because realistically, it is your job to attract your ideal clients and frankly, repel the people that you don't want to work with and or the people who are never going to hire you and pay you money. And by the way, when I say repel, I'm talking about, I call it bless and release. Let's bless and release these people from our lives that are going to take up energy and time and us like lamenting, should I call them? Should I not? What should I do next? Like, I don't want you spending a bunch of time doing that. All right. When I think about closing the sale, I think one of the most important things is making sure that you have a process or a structure to what you're doing so that you can seamlessly move somebody from the start of the conversation to the place where you exchange dollars and services. And how I come to this idea of structure and foundation, and you'll hear me use these terms a lot, and the steps is I have an extensive background in neuro-linguistic programming. I am master certified practitioner with over 1,200 classroom hours. That's a lot, by the way, of most NLP standards. I think most people that have similar certifications to mine might have less than 200 classroom hours. So I really show up from this place of bringing this, my foundation, my sales success and background and what's worked, and my NLP background, neuro-linguistic programming, and combine those two so that I can now teach people how to have more flexibility in their conversations and in their behavior to put their prospects at ease, to make the sales conversation more seamless, and to simply move somebody through the process. If NLP is a new term for you, if you haven't heard that term before, or neuro-linguistic programming, it's really the study of communication, how to have more flexibility, again, in your conversation and your way of being, and therefore having more influence in the conversation. So the neuro part of NLP is talking about the way we process information in our brains, the way you process, the way your prospects process information. The linguistics piece is about the language. So the way that you speak to others, the way that your prospects speak to you, and also any internal dialogue that you have going on in your head. Some of us have a critic. I don't know about you. I always say I have a few critics that might actually require some special counseling. But, most of us have at least one critic that shows up that can derail sales success. And because we've got, some voices or a voice in our head that's not saying the nicest things to you. I always say, I don't know about you, but my critic is not kind in the way they give me feedback. And then the programming part of NLP is habits and patterns and understanding what people's habits and patterns are, because most people kind of show up and walk through life based on their habits and patterns. So when I now teach structure to a sales conversation, it's taking into account all of these things, the way somebody's going to process the information and the way that you're delivering it, the language that you're using, and how to recognize patterns and habits to make it easy for them to take next steps with you. And from that, and from all of my years teaching and speaking and working with thousands of people since I started my business many years ago, I think I'm coming up on my 7th year in business. So since then, of being able to work with these people and teach them structure. And I know that when people learn structure, it makes it easy for you to go, oh, here's the steps. Here's how I can incorporate this into what I'm doing, what's working for me, where I want to add a tweak. So now I teach what's called the selling staircase, because it's a structure, right? It's a 5-step process of how to move somebody from the start of a sales conversation to the close. So again, the topic today is closing the sale. And how do you get to the place where you close the sale? Well, you follow the selling staircase. You follow the 5 steps and you move a client from step to step to step. One of the biggest mistakes that people make in a sales conversation is they try to go right in for the close. It's like, I don't have time for niceties. I'm just going to try to get your business. And frankly, that doesn't work. None of us want to be sold to that way. None of us want to be treated like we're just big old dollar signs, walking around for somebody. We want somebody to build rapport. We want somebody to engage with us. We want somebody who is invested in our success and that we feel confident and we can trust. So this is why you've got to go back and start to understand these 5 steps in the selling staircase. Because if you're missing a step, oftentimes what's happening is you're causing somebody to feel uncomfortable with you or not safe with you in some way. So let me just talk through the 5 steps first and foremost. The step 1 in the selling staircase is the introduction step. Makes sense, right? You got to be introduced to somebody for the first time, or they're being introduced to you. Or the introduction step also can include introducing the concept of the work that you do, your expertise, to somebody who maybe you've known for a while. So what are you supposed to do in step 1? Well, you're supposed to make a powerful first impression, because we want to create that know, like, and trust factor as quickly as possible in that conversation. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail on today's episode of what to do in each steps, because there's going to be future episodes about this. But I just want to give you kind of this foundation piece first. So we've got the idea of making a powerful first impression in step 1, that introduction phase. That is going to lead us to step 2 in the selling staircase, which is creating curiosity. This, by the way, is probably the step that most people are missing. Most people don't think about, am I creating any curiosity? And how you know you're creating curiosity, by the way, is the way that you answer questions. Does that cause somebody else to then have some follow-up questions or express some interest in what it is that you do and what you offer? And if that's not happening for you right now in your business, it's probably because you're skipping this step. The way to create curiosity, there's kind of 2 main ways. It's the way that you answer questions that spurs people to want to know more. And it's a way to plant seeds to see, am I talking to somebody who would benefit from working with me, or am I just in a like casual conversation with somebody who's never going to buy? Either way is okay. And it is super important that you create curiosity, or at least attempt to create curiosity, because we don't always know if the person we're in conversation with is a prospective client or not. Creating curiosity is probably the second most popular thing that I teach. And when I talk about this, and when I teach the techniques around creating curiosity, it's kind of just how I show up in a conversation. And so sometimes I do it kind of in my unconscious level, like I'm just doing it. This is how I am. This is how I talk. And I'm always like so surprised at how effective it is, because people who I never think would possibly want to hire me oftentimes pick up on my curiosity creating responses and pick up on my planting seed type drops that I give, and makes them go like, maybe I could use some help with this. Or maybe Nikki, you could help my team. Or, I know somebody who is really struggling with sales, or is really struggling with their offers that they're putting out into the market. Like, is that something you could help people with? Which of course then is buying signals. Buying signals are what happen when you start to create curiosity. People give you a buying signal. A buying signal, by the way, is some type of response from somebody that indicates that they're interested. It could be a verbal response, or it can even be a nonverbal response. A verbal response would be them going like, I wonder if that's something I could use, or, I just had a situation happen that maybe I could talk with you about, Nikki. That's a verbal potential buying signal. A nonverbal buying signal is somebody kind of leaning in, or like, you can tell sometimes people's eyes open up wide. It's like, it's that expression. It's hard to do this over audio, but that expression that somebody might give you where it's like, oh, you see that in people's faces. The other nonverbal response that you can get is people will take notes about what you're saying. That's a potential buying signal too. So once you get a buying signal, now we can move to step 3 in the selling staircase, which is the discovery phase. This is where it is your job to then uncover what's the problem, what's the need, what's the want from this person, and do I have a solution that is going to meet that problem, need, solve that want for them? So what you're doing in the discovery phase is so crucial to your success. I will share with you one of the biggest mistakes that people often make in the sales process. When they get to discovery, they start to go right into close. They actually kind of muddy the waters between steps 3, 4, and 5. Step 4 is proposal. Step 5 is close. When you're in discovery, you shouldn't be selling. You should be asking questions. You should be finding out more about what's going on for this person. And the questions you ask, by the way, should lead somebody to hiring you and lead for you to identify, is this an ideal client or not? And if it isn't, that's okay. Bless and release. But if it is an ideal client, then we want to move to step 4, which is laying out a proposal, a way to possibly work with us. And the way that we move to step 4 is by asking permission. And I'm going to talk about this because ultimately this is kind of the whole concept of what this whole episode is about. So I'm going to come back to this in just a second. But I want to talk about step 4 in the proposal. Now, sometimes people think what I mean here is I'm talking about a formal proposal where you like put together a really nice document that's got all this, great white space on it, and it talks about how awesome you are. That could be the case. And for some of you in the way that you do business, that is the case. For others of us, I rarely put together a formal proposal for anybody, even like my corporate clients. Usually they just want to know, like, what's it cost to work with you, Nikki? Can you come in and do this sales training? Yes or no? Here's like, yes, we're moving forward. They pay me money and then we're off to the races. So don't mistake this step in that you have to have a very formal piece of paper or PDF type proposal. That's not what I mean. I mean, here is a clear way to outline to somebody based on everything you've talked about. I see some ways that we could work together. Would you be interested in hearing more about that? That, by the way, is how you move from discovery to proposal. They say yes. And then you stand in this place of expertise and you recommend in the proposal part, what is the best solution that's going to meet that need, solve that problem, accomplish that want. So your job then is to say, my recommendation is that we work together in a private setting. That could be a VIP program, or that might be a strategy session with you. And then you kind of lay out what that means for them. And then you move to step 5, which is the close. I know it took us a while to get here, but this is where we actually give or issue close language. One of the mistakes that people often make is that they lay out a proposal and then they just kind of leave it there. They just kind of wait. They kind of wait for the person to tell them what to do next. Your client shouldn't be telling you what to do next. You have to issue closed language, and then you let the client tell you what to do next. So if you're not getting the words out of your mouth, if you're not issuing that close, oftentimes people won't decide to hire you. So an example of closed language would be, I lay out my clear proposal, right? And then I'm going to say, is this something you'd like to move forward on? Or should we go ahead and schedule that training for you? Or should we pick a date? That's closed language, by the way. If you're not ever getting that closed language out of your mouth, this is another reason why you probably aren't closing the deals that you want to close. Okay, so backing up, we've got the 5 steps here. We've got the introduction, curiosity, discovery, proposal, and then the close. The way that you close more sales is you lead somebody from step to step to step. You cannot skip steps in the selling process as the seller. I want to clarify here. Your client or your prospect, they can skip steps. If somebody comes up to you at a networking event and they're like, hey, I heard about you. My friend went through your training. I need what you do. Can I hire you right now? I don't want you to go like, wait a minute. Slow down. You're skipping steps. We've got to like jump back to the introduction phase. I want you to say, yes, you can hire me. Let's go ahead and schedule that now. Like you could go right in for the close when the prospect is initiating it. But if you're initiating it, you cannot skip steps. Skipping steps is like asking a client to stand in front of a staircase with 5 steps on it, and from a standing position, hop up to the 5th step. Most people are not going to do that. They're going to look at you like, hey, crazy lady, I'm going to bang my shins, or why would I possibly do that? People who try to skip steps in the selling process are usually the people that come off like salesy or aggressive, or it's just off-putting to people in some way. It's because you didn't do your due diligence. You didn't move somebody through the selling process. You didn't make it really easy for them to go like, I know where we are. I trust you. I feel comfortable. Yes, I want to move to the next step, not right in for the close. So how you move clients from step to step to step, by the way, is by issuing invitations. I like this term, issuing invitations. You can also replace issuing invitations with asking. That works the same. I like the idea of issuing an invitation because I think most people like to be invited to things. I always say my all-time favorite song is Cheap Trick, I Want You to Want Me. I think people like to be wanted. And when you issue an invitation, you're essentially saying, I like you. I'd like to move to the next step. Is that something you'd be interested in? And oftentimes they'll say yes, and they'll go with you. I can't tell you how many times people have hired me and then said to me later, I didn't actually even know, but when I was coming to this event today, that I was going to start working with a sales coach. And if you kind of dig in and say, well, how did we get to this place that we get to work together? Oftentimes they'll say, Nikki, it's because you asked. Or it's because you planted these seeds and then you asked. You made it really easy for me to take the next step with you and work with you. That's the goal. This is how you make the sales conversation more seamless. This is how it builds confidence for you because you know what step you're on. You're no longer having to guess, where am I in this conversation? You know, because you're clear, like, oh, we're in this introduction step. We're in the curiosity creating. Now I've invited them to the discovery. I know what to do here. Now it's time to move to proposal. So I'm going to issue that invitation, or in this case, ask permission. I said it before, like based on everything we talked about, I do see some ways that we could work together. Would you be interested in hearing more about that? I'm asking, like in that case, it sounds like I'm asking permission, and I am, but I'm also issuing an invitation. Do you hear it? Are you issuing invitations and moving your clients from step to step to step? If you're not, it's probably costing you business, or it's costing people to go into this place of indecision, or like, I'll let you know, or then they start ghosting you. It's probably because you didn't issue an invitation. You didn't make it easy for them to move to the next step. And clients want you to be the expert. They want you to be the person that leads them through the process. They don't want to have to tell you how to earn their business. It's your job to earn it. And you do this by just moving through the process. All right. So there's tons of future episodes that we were going to be talking and digging into all different types of the sales conversations. We'll be talking about some mindset stuff. We'll be talking about the actual language that you're going to use, the questions that you should be asking, the offers that you're going to be making. All of these things are going to be crucial to your success. But most of the time people start with me of going like, how do I close more sales, Nikki? So you have it now. This is how you close more sales. You get proficient in moving clients from step to step to step. And all of a sudden, you are going to have more clients, and you're going to be working with more of your ideal clients, because this 5-step process, the selling staircase, helps you identify who are those ideal clients pretty quickly and who are the people that you want to bless and release. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope it's given you some food for thought, some ideas that you should be thinking about and asking yourself, what step am I missing? Where am I skipping steps in a sales conversation and that's causing people to not move forward with me? I often give my clients the advice of, hey, if everything that you're doing is working, don't change it. So if what you're doing is working right now, don't change it. But if you'd like to grow your sales, if you want more revenue in your business, if you want to work with more of your ideal clients and make a bigger impact in the world, there is some huge advantages to checking to see what step am I missing and how do I fix it in my process so that your authentic personality can shine through, so that people can easily decide, you're my person, you're the person I want to work with, you're the person I'm going to hire, I don't want to work with any other person, or I don't want to buy from anybody else, you're it. And that really comes down to having this process, being able to seamlessly move somebody through the selling staircase. It will make sales so much easier. It'll boost your confidence. All the good things happen as a result of it. All right. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I'd love to hear from you. What step are you skipping? Take a few minutes and think about it. What step are you skipping? What step do you need some support on? There's a myriad of ways for us to work together, but I'm going to give you the 3 most common ways that I work with clients. I work with them privately in private coaching sessions. I do team trainings for sales teams. And then I have a membership community that's called the Sales Maven Society. This is where my training is housed. This is where people get direct access to me in a group to ask questions. This is where you get support from other members. I do bonus trainings all the time in that group. So if one of those sounds interesting to you, please reach out to me. You can find me at yoursalesmaven.com. You can also send me an email at nikki@yoursalesmaven.com. Super simple. I'd love to hear from you if I can support you in any way. Now, I'm going to sign off by giving you one last little piece of advice. This is the piece of advice that I often give all of my clients, and definitely the society members. I always say, go out and focus on revenue generating activities first. Let's grow your business. Good luck.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.